fat into brown fat. Different from the usual white fat, brown fat looks brown because it has far more mitochondria. White fat is more like a vat for storing calories, but the purpose of this brown fat is to act like a furnace, keeping you warm by burning up calories in its mitochondria. Dr. Benjamin Bickman has said that having more of this active brown fat can increase your daily calorie burn, and exposing yourself to the cold will increase the amount of this brown fat and actually make the brown fat better at burning calories to keep you warm. If you're familiar with Wim Hof, you'd know that the body can become remarkably good at tolerating cold. Wim Hof was instrumental in popularizing the physical and mental benefits of cold exposure, but Polish scientist Walerian Romanowski took the ice bath world record from him by staying in full contact with ice for 3 hours straight. Here's him taking an ice bath in negative 55-degree weather in Siberia. Fasting is the best way to increase ketones, and Dr. Benjamin Bickman has found that when you apply ketones to fat cells, it actually increases their ability to burn calories, and that ketones turn white fat into brown fat. In mice, a ketogenic diet has been found to increase the size of the mitochondria in the brown fat. On the other side of ketones, we have insulin. To simplify things a bit, where ketones tell your fat to burn more calories, the hormone insulin tells the fat to just store the calories. And insulin will block your fat cells from turning into this more productive brown fat, and it will increase the amount of inactive white fat that you have. Lucky for us, exercise and especially fasting will of course lower insulin. This is great because studies have suggested that higher insulin reduces your body's daily calorie burn.
1 in 3 kids are overweight or obese. She'll unveil her biggest program yet, a nationwide campaign to combat childhood obesity.
Give me 5 ways they're leading a healthier life. 5 jumping jacks, eating 5 new vegetables.
The bad news, for children 12 to 19 years old, obesity has increased. Teens posting YouTube videos, complaining they were hungry because of the cap on calories.
Having too much insulin can block the brain from picking up on the signal from the satiety hormone leptin, making you hungry.
And that's what's driving obesity. Insulin blocks leptin at the brain and makes you hungry. So the higher your insulin goes, the hungrier you get.
Researchers are actually looking at cold exposure as a therapeutic strategy for type 2 diabetes because it has beneficial effects on blood sugar and insulin. Ray Cornish explained in the 2010 TED-Med talk that a regimen of cold showers and shirtless walks in winter had him lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks.
For my lunch, I'm having this oden soup with a bunch of shirataki. It's probably about 200 grams of shirataki, probably about 50 calories total in here. And then beef jerky is 133 calories. And then the squid is 45.
To wrap up the third day, I tried going for a run that night, and I actually felt quite energetic and very light at first, but after 3 kilometers I started to get a headache and switched to walking. After that, I went back to the hotel and did some rounds of sauna and cold plunge. Usually by this point in a fast, the twinge in my stomach really makes it hard to fall asleep, but like the day before, I was so exhausted this night that I fell asleep much faster than I usually do when I'm eating.
This morning I woke up feeling really weird. I felt really depleted, but kind of hot. My skin felt kind of weird, probably because the room was dry, but I kind of think I overdid it on the sauna. Probably not the best thing to do while you're fasting. But had some salt and electrolytes, and now I'm feeling pretty good. So I'm gonna try and get a bunch of steps in. But it's a really nice day today.
I got in about 10,000 steps and listened to an Andrew Huberman podcast before we had to check out of the hotel. I learned from that podcast that an important component to burning fat with cold exposure is specifically to shiver. Shivering causes the release of a compound called succinate that acts on your brown fat to increase the brown fat's production of heat and calorie burn. Shivering also triggers the release of adrenaline from neurons that are embedded in the fat. This adrenaline causes the fat to be released and burned up.
This is the protocol that Huberman recommended, is you get into water that's basically cold enough to make you shiver for 3 minutes, and then you get out for 3 minutes, and then you get back in for 3 minutes. So something about this makes you shiver a lot more. I actually feel pretty good. I feel a lot better than, a lot more energized than I felt before.
Even after I put my clothes on, I was still shivering like a wet chihuahua as we walked down to Skia to get some miso soup. Despite not having as much time to walk this day, I was once again totally exhausted and ended up being in bed about 11 and a half hours. This is the most I've ever slept on a fast.
I woke up this morning with that kind of low blood pressure, really depleted feeling. So I got up, took some salt with electrolytes, and before long I was feeling pretty good. So I went up and did the cold plunge, got some shiver in, and now I'm back down here. And I'm a bit worried about today because my Achilles tendon has been killing me since yesterday night.
The last day we hopped on the train to go back to Tokyo, and while I was aiming to max out my steps, my Achilles heel was killing me, and I was limping along most of the day. It felt better walking on a perfectly flat surface, so I went to the gym and did an hour on the treadmill while watching a crappy movie.
I hit the treadmill for about 90 minutes. Now it's actually a lot worse. So I'm gonna go home.
I had to call it quits after a measly 25,000 steps for the day.
But today, I woke up feeling a little depleted, but now that I came out and started moving, I'm feeling way better.
On the morning of the final day, I limped out another 15,000 steps for a total of 163,000 steps, or 79 miles over the 5 days. I took my after picture, got my blood drawn again, and broke my 121-hour fast at 2 p.m. with a nice big ribeye. To be honest, eating a proper meal after 5 days wasn't so much like an amazing burst of pleasure. It feels more like a sense of relief. Not all that different from finally being able to sit down after walking 7 hours a day. Finally, let's take a look at my before and after picture. Looks like my gut shrank a decent amount, though I doubt all that initial size was fat. I may have been extra bloated in the before picture. I lost 11.7 pounds or 5.3 kilograms over the 5 days. But what about my blood results? Was I able to get the fasting benefits I was hoping for despite eating 300 calories? Well, after the fast, my insulin was 3 times less than baseline. CRP, a marker of inflammation, was 1.8 times less. IGF, this growth factor that we want to produce for better longevity, was 1.7 times less than baseline. And finally, my white blood cell count was 1.65 times less than baseline. Based on this paper here, this reduction in white blood cells may suggest increased autophagy, the body's rejuvenating cell recycling process. So it seems like I got all the benefits I was looking for, even though I was eating some calories. By the way, my LDL cholesterol went from 125 to 101, my HDL improved from 40 to 43, and my triglycerides, which you generally want to be lower, went from 56 all the way down to 39. Next up, according to the in-body scan, my body fat percentage reduced by 2.4%, meaning I lost 5.5 pounds of fat. I also lost 4.4 pounds of soft lean mass, but that doesn't necessarily mean I lost 4 pounds of pure muscle. Soft lean mass refers to total body protein, water, and non-bone minerals. However, please take these specific results with a big grain of salt. I don't put too much stock into the accuracy of this in-body thing. Last time I got an in-body scan, it said my body fat percentage was 6% when I looked like this. Here's someone who got a result of 6% body fat on a much more accurate device, the DEXA scan. But unfortunately, I don't have access to a DEXA scan in Tokyo. By the way, this study that used a DEXA scan on people doing a prolonged fast found that their fat mass drastically reduced by day 6 of fasting, and while their lean mass was temporarily reduced, it returned back to baseline after 5 days of refeeding. But even after the refeeding, they maintained that big reduction in fat mass. So if you're fasting, my 5 tips to you would be to 1. Move as much as you can and stay busy. Obviously 7 hours of walking a day is not realistic at all, but every time I got outside and moving, I felt a lot more energetic and less hungry. When I was sitting down with nothing to focus on was when I was feeling the hungriest. The second thing is to get in nature and get plenty of sun if you can. Third, if you have experience with cold exposure and fasting, try combining them, but take it slow. I found it actually made me feel really energetic, it improved my mood, and reduced my hunger. For beginners, it's probably not a good idea. Fourth, you don't need to impress anyone. Sure, water-only fasting is the coolest, and surely it has more benefits, but if having a 100-calorie miso soup will make it so that you can fast for 4 days instead of 3, just eat the soup. Fifth, like usual, take your salt and electrolytes. Whenever I was feeling really low energy or hungry, I would take plenty of salt and electrolytes in my water, and that had me feeling way better. That's where this video's sponsor, Element, comes in. As mentioned, plenty of fasting benefits come from reducing insulin, but when you reduce insulin, your body will have you pee out more electrolytes. So adding electrolytes to your water can really bring your energy levels back up. I was drinking tons of these during my fast, at least 3 a day, and I was having the chocolate-flavored Element in hot water instead of coffee in the morning. Also, since hunger can be tied to a lack of sodium, The element packs help me reduce my fatigue and hunger. Actually, even if I'm not fasting or doing low carb, I found element gives me more energy, especially when I'm working out. Element tastes great, and my favorite thing is there's no junk in it. It's just a well-balanced mix of electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, a bit of flavoring, and some stevia. There's also an unflavored one if you prefer. If you go to drinklmnt.com/whatI've-learned, you can get a free sampler pack with any purchase.
So it looks like we got ourselves a problem. Gotta get wet to take care of it. Don't drown or nothing. Something's down here, lurking in the weird. Shake it up, see what comes out. saying? Many hands make light work? I don't know. Some of that stuff still looked pretty heavy.
I didn't see you lifting anything.
Hey! Ain't you a tactician? My job's the same. It's logistics.
Logistics.
I might have also been eating lunch.